How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys Alex and Ryan. So, my friends, we got a lot to talk about today. I mean, Brian Cashman, if you listen to what Hal Steinbrenner had to say, pretty vague, pretty level-headed. Yes, he was like unacceptable. Winning seasons are a requirement. We shouldn't be proud of that. Cashman went in a whole different direction. He was calling minor league players bitter boys. He was dropping F-bombs, bullshit this, bullshit that. Our analytics department's one of the smallest in the AL. Why? I don't know. That's not somebody to be bragging about. I think, Ryan, you have a lot to say about that one. But it's kind of crazy. Like, we heard a lot of emotion out of Brian Cashman, and that was something that I didn't really anticipate. I don't know about you, but I expected more of the same old, vague kind of just nothingness. And we got a lot. We got a lot to talk about. And at the end of the day, the Yankees are going to be, I guess, aggressive, somewhat aggressive. It seems like they know they need a left fielder. They don't think Jason Dominguez is going to be ready next year. They don't know what Oswald Peraza's role is going to be. They just don't know much, and it seems like they have no choice but to reinforce this team with some really great talent. And obviously, if you didn't see the quote, the big one that Cashman did drop was that we're pretty freaking proud. Or what did he say? I think we're pretty effing good, or great even, he said, personally. So, he clearly is defending the personnel in the front office. He's clearly standing behind and even doubled down on some of the decisions that he's made, notably the Frankie Montas deal. Said that the medicals came out all clean. They actually thought he was cleaner than they anticipated. And then, of course, he immediately got hurt. So maybe that was just bad luck. Maybe they missed something. I don't know. End of the day, Yankees end up on the wrong side of a deal for the 100th time in the last 5 years. So, Ryan, what is your instant reaction to this entire press conference? Because at the end of the day, it was a lot. It was emotional, and it sounded like he was defending himself. And I don't think we've ever really heard Cashman speak like this before. I don't think we've ever really heard him try to defend his job, defend his work, defend his decision-making like this. It was pretty eye-opening, and it says to me that there's some turmoil here. Like, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where it's coming from, but clearly he's frustrated at the narrative built around this team right now, and I think it's a worthwhile thing to discuss.
Yeah, so what I will open with saying is I think the big thing, obviously, that, I think I want to talk about is the analytics department thing, because that was certainly one of the most interesting things I've heard the Yankees ever come out and say. Now, I did do a little bit of digging. I did a little bit of, just fact-checking whether Brian Cashman was right or not. And he's probably right. I mean, I don't know. But source of The Athletic tweeted, my read on this is there are full-time analysts and there are consultants. Everything I hear says the Yankees have a lot of high-priced and productive analytical consultants beyond the full-time analysts that show up on MLB.com's masthead for the team. So, technically, Brian Cashman could have been right. Brian Cashman could have been right and also wrong in the same regard. He could have been right, or I guess wrong would imply that he was trying. I think he was trying to use a technicality here. Technically speaking, yes, the Yankees could have the smallest analytics department in the American League East, but that doesn't include consultants. That doesn't include, and that's apparently a big part of their decision making. Now, whether that's a good or a bad thing, I'm not privy to speak on that. That's not my area of expertise. But looking at what the Yankees have done at the minor league side of things, they're very data driven down there, right? Like, it's very hard to find people that have high ranking positions down there that aren't very analytically driven or aren't data driven, right? Like, Dylan Lawson was the MLB hitting coordinator, and he put in place a lot of the guys there, like Joe Maglocchio, who's currently the hitting director for the Yankees, the AA hitting coach Jake Hurst, the AAA hitting coach Trevor Amicon, right? Like, all three of those guys are, they all came from like the Dylan Lawson tree of trust. And Lawson, very data driven, very analytical. It looks like they're going to hire James Rosen. James Rosen led a Twins team that hit the most home runs in MLB history. Now, I get it, juice ball era, all that stuff, but it's still the best home run, the most amount of home runs hit in the juice ball era as well. So you can't say relative to his peers, he wasn't very good. Relative to his peers, it was the best home run hitting offense in the league. And also, kind of interestingly, they were they had the fourth lowest strikeout rate that year. So, it's hard to say they don't value data. I mean, do you acquire Joey Gallo because you're looking at batting average and RBIs, right? Like, do you acquire Clay Holmes because you're looking at ERA and, mental toughness, right? Like, I refuse to believe those are the reasons those acquisitions are made. Alex, do you stick with Aaron Hicks because of his average? Do you stick with Josh Donaldson because of his average? I mean, they were talking about the underlying data, the hard hit rates all season. I'm very sure they use data. I'm very sure they were very reliant on it. And I mean, look, I think actions speak louder than words there. So there's that. And then, of course, defending his guys, right? Like, coming out now, it's pretty fucking good. Like, we're pretty fucking good quote. That quote was definitely the one I think that set most people off. But I think it's important to note he wasn't talking about the team. The team is not what he was referring to. He was referring to his personnel. And whether he should come out and just say, yeah, they're pretty fucking good, we can debate about whether that he should have said that or not. But I know he's not going to say Jimmy from accounting fucking sucks at his job, right? Like, I think that would be more counterproductive to what you're trying to do. Look, Cashman is, and he said this in the interview too, I just don't think he cares what we think. And look, I don't think he has to care what we think. If that is how he's going to operate, that's fine. But I want player acquisitions to reflect that too, right? Like, I don't, he very much says, like, I mean, like the IKF acquisition, you mean to tell me the Yankees got more contact and speed because the analytics told them to do so? I think they're trying to appease people. I think they're trying to, like, be like, hey, we're going to be different this year, right? Like, I don't see the actions always reflecting this idea that they don't care what the fans think. If they're going to go all in on that, go all in on that. Be, data driven, be, top of the line. Zealous analytics should help in that regard. It's also notable that in The Athletic, it was reported that Brian Cashman in that interview came out and said he wants to expand their analytics department. So I think they know that something's wrong. I think Cashman was very unwilling to come out and criticize anybody specifically. And I think that's just how employers are, right? Like, he's just a high-ranking official who doesn't want to criticize his own organization. It is what it is, right? Like, I don't have to like it. You don't have to like it. But as Cashman says, like, doesn't really give a shit what we think.
And he shouldn't give a shit what we think, because if he did, we, of course, fans want every single player. And, he obviously is trying to do it his way, his strategy, using the methods and people around him. But there was a lot more that he said that I was just a little bit, I'm not turned off by, but it didn't really give me much optimism, much faith. And I think that you kind of look at comparably what Steinbrenner expressed and what Cashman expressed, and they're very different mentalities. Like, Cashman's like, we need a left fielder, we need pitching, Dominguez may not be able to play, we need a center fielder. Like, he's out there like, we're doing this, we're doing that, like, we need these things. And then Steinbrenner alternatively was sitting there like, we don't want to spend, we don't need to spend $300 million. Look what Texas and Houston did. And, like, obviously they have one of the best analytical departments in baseball, and you see the difference there, small, big. And ultimately, I feel like right now I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do, but, look at the report from John Heyman of the New York Post, right? He said the Yankees are absolutely looking to go out and get a new outfielder. Guys like Cody Bellinger, Shohei Ohtani, and obviously Juan Soto are the primary options on this market. But Heyman's saying that there's a decent chance that the Yankees do end up with Bellinger, that they even pursue him. Obviously, Ohtani's a little bit of a pipe dream, prefers the West Coast, Tommy John surgery. I think that he would bring an enormous amount of attention and money to the Yankees, but I just don't think they're going down that road. Soto, I think that if the Padres are trying to get rid of some salary, if they're trying to, maybe remedy their current financial situation, trading Soto makes a lot of sense, but they may want to try and get rid of a bigger contract. I don't think they want to get rid of Soto, but I think that there is a realm where the Yankees convince them that, hey, we'll give you a good deal, and we'll take a salary off, and we'll really clear up some space for you so you can go out and sign, let's say, a pitcher. I don't know. But, at the end of the day, you look at what the Yankees have. They have the resources, they have the need, and there are the players. So the free agent market is a little bit top heavy. You have guys like Jock Peterson, some lower level like Kevin Kiermaiers of the world, but Cody Bellinger is the cream of the crop. And the thing that I am concerned about, and Ryan, I want to get your opinion on this, Cody Bellinger personally scares the absolute shit out of me. And the reason for that is because look at Juan Soto. 3 consecutive years, over 150 games played, and that was obviously after the COVID season. He played 150 games right before that as well. Cody Bellinger has played a minimum of 95 games in 2021, 144 in 2022, and 130 last season. So he's trending in the right direction in terms of availability. The problem is, in 2021, he hit 165 with a 240 OBP, 210 with a 265 OBP in 2022, and then this past season, 307, 356. This is the type of deal the Yankees make, and then it shoots them in the freaking foot because he reverses course and ends up becoming the 2022 version of himself, and we end up stuck on a 10-year deal that is nowhere near worth what we paid. That is why I'm concerned about Cody Bellinger. 2 awful seasons with 1 elite season mixed in. We've seen the best version of Cody Bellinger before, but he was with the Cubs. He loved playing with the Cubs. It was a mentality thing for him. I don't know if he can maintain that in the Bronx, guys. And Ryan, I don't know if we can trust that when he's having a down couple weeks, that the fans are going to rally behind him and not boo him into the freaking obliteration. So I'm a little bit concerned about Cody Bellinger because I don't know if he can handle this environment. I haven't seen enough consistency. Juan Soto can handle this environment. Juan Soto is a consistent-ass player. Juan Soto shows up every freaking day, and he's been elite for every season he's been in the MLB. That's the difference here. I'm willing to take the shot on Juan Soto and pay him over Bellinger because I am very nervous that Bellinger's not going to pan out. What are your thoughts about that? Maybe it's just being a Yankee fan. I have that natural fear in me, but I think there's a reasonable logic behind that.
Yeah, well, one of the big things I think is really important when it comes to talking about Cody Bellinger is the underlying metrics, right? Like, he's projected for 108 WRC+. He has a very, like, his profile last season was very much reliant on things that don't always project very well or aren't necessarily the most sustainable. I still think he's a good player, but as you mentioned, right, like, I think getting him as your best player, it feels a little bit, I guess the word would be underwhelming, right? Like, the phrase would definitely be, yeah, this is kind of underwhelming. It's like, is he really, going to change your lineup? I think he's a nice piece, but I don't think he's a lineup changer. I don't think I'm hitting him third and saying, yep, this team's really good. You hit Juan Soto second or third, and yeah, you're like, yeah, I mean, this team's freaking amazing, right? There's a difference, right? Obviously, Shohei Ohtani would be awesome too, but like, I think we're just like at the point where it's like, we're not getting Shohei Ohtani, which is, it's fine. We kind of knew that beforehand. It's not like it's like the Yankees were hyped up to get him and then didn't. Kind of like the Bryce Harper thing where it's like the most obvious fit in the world and the Yankees didn't get him, right? I feel like Juan Soto, the Yankees have a lot of interest. The Yankees have always really liked Juan Soto. That's never been not the case. It's just a matter of, are they going to be willing to be as aggressive as need be? And he kind of hints at this with Hal, where it's like, Hal didn't really come out and make it seem like he was dead set on doing whatever it takes to win. You know what I mean? Like, that didn't feel like his vibe. That did not feel like what we were getting in that presser. And I'm not saying that to say that Hal Steinbrenner should come out and say, the New York Yankees, we're going to be doing everything, right? But, hearing the $300 million threshold, the $300 million thing, like, that quote wasn't great. I didn't like that quote very much. Do I think that they could still get Juan Soto? Sure, right? But I'm going to need them to actually do it, right? Like, again, I'm not trying to make it seem like this press conference has no bearing on your confidence level on the team or whatever, but I genuinely do not care what this press conference looks like. I'm not going to care in 2 weeks. I'm not going to care in 3 weeks. Definitely not in 4. And I'm going to just want this team to get better. Like, I think it's that simple, Alex. I think we're at the point of the baby bomb, not even the baby bomber era, the Aaron Judge tenure, the Brian Cashman tenure, where it's like, shut the fuck up and get good players, right? Like, just shut the fuck up and get good players. I'm sorry for cursing, but like, this is embarrassing. Like, we're sitting here and talking about press conferences. We're sitting here and talking about, 82 and 80. We're sitting here and talking about bragging about you have the smallest analytics department, right? Like, Brian Cashman has every right to air out frustrations, but like, we have every right to do so as well. We like it's true on both sides. And, I had to sit here and watch, a baseball team that had the second highest payroll and wasn't, consistently good all year. Right. And I had to watch a team who, had a lot of minor league talent that felt a disconnect when they came up here. Right. Like, that's terrible. That's horrible, right? Like, that's unacceptable, right? That doesn't happen to New York. That doesn't happen to a great franchise. It doesn't happen to the Los Angeles Dodgers. They got knocked down in the first round, but they have a World Series in this era, and they did so after getting Mookie Betts, right? Looking at, let's say, the Texas Rangers, how did they win a World Series? Do you think it was by, were they smarter than the Rays? No. I mean, I don't think that smartness is bad. I think you should be smart, but it came down to, sometimes it comes down to, you have better players, right? Like, analytics or data. That's not like a strategy it's not a strategy. It's just data, right? I'm sure every team uses data, but end of the day, when everyone's data is pretty even, when there's not massive gaps in information, it comes down to talent. We talk about the Astros, like, oh, well, their analytics department, this and that. Yeah, they have Yordan Alvarez, Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve, Kyle Tucker. Like, that's why they beat us, right? Like, now, analytics allows you to develop those good players, but at the end of the day, if you don't have good players, I don't really care what you're saying. I don't care what you're telling me. I don't. Like, I need good players. That's where I'm at right now, Alex.
Well, look, I mean, I've already heard it from Judge and Garrett Cole. This team without Judge is not very good. And look, I mean, you kind of heard Judge say something about the small ball, the lack of balance, that bunting concept that Steinbrenner dropped. Certainly feels as though it's connected to that. And Judge saying we need to get a little bit better at doing other things. So, I do think this is there's going to be a lot of voices. Sifting through them is going to be a pretty big challenge for this front office because everyone seems to have their 2 cents. Everyone seems to have their opinions. How do you find the right opinions among the entire crowd? That's difficult. I guess you have to find a balance in that entire process as well. But for me, it feels like the Yankees, I don't know. It feels like there's just been a lack of communication and a lack of healthy communication at times. They've been on different pages. You heard it. You heard them say like they spent the first week after the season in meetings for like 8 hours at a time, hashing things out, getting heated over it. Clearly, people think certain ways, and other people are combating and defending and attacking on those concepts and narratives. So, you know what? To me, Ryan, the fact that Cashman was so emotional yesterday says to me that he's being forced to defend himself a lot more than we may think behind the scenes, because I think that's where, when have we ever heard him speak like this? I get the reporters are asking him questions trying to get this, but he came out firing right off the bat. You know what I mean? Like he's already defending himself without even being asked a legitimate question yet. So that says to me that they're asking him the questions. He's being the one, put on the fire and really forced to give the answers as to why these things are happening, why those decisions were made. At least that's from my perspective. That it could be different. It could be wrong. But at the same time, you just don't see, like, he almost looked like a wounded animal out there, man. Yeah, but he was fighting back. He was attacking. He was not defending. He was not playing the vague, we'll see what happens type of game. He was giving answers. Like, he was saying what was happening with players, what they need, what they're doing, answering about the analytical department. Like, it was very apparent that he was out there to debunk narratives. But why does he care? And you said in the beginning of the episode, like, he doesn't really care about what we think, but those responses made me think that he does care. You know what I mean? Or maybe certain people. So we'll see what happens, guys. But this was a very eye-opening kind of situation to me. I definitely walked away from it feeling like we're playing defense, but I really want to see us playing offense. We need to turn this thing around. We got to be aggressive. We got to get the right players, the right talent, take necessary risks, but don't bet the farm on a guy like Bellinger if he's going to cost you over $200 million. You know what I mean? Like, don't take that risk. It's unnecessary, and it's going to bite us in the butt. I just have that feeling. Maybe you guys don't, but out of 3 years, 2 of them being awful, I mean, the sample size suggests that he is bound for regression. Like, he's bound for regression. So, that would be a really bad scenario for the Yankees to be in, cashing in and buying at the top, right? They would be buying at the highest of value. That is when you don't want to be buying at the highest of value. You want to be buying on Soto, who may have not seen his best yet, and he's been at the highest of value for years. He hasn't gone. It hasn't been Tros. It's been up here every single freaking season. You know what you're getting. It's as close to a proven commodity as you can get. And Bellinger is like a heartbeat monitor. He's terrible. He's good. He's terrible. He's good. You don't know what version you're going to get of him. That's a freaking risk. That is the definition of a risk. So you guys tell me, what do you guys think about Cody Bellinger? I'm a little bit scared. Am I going to be upset if we get him? Absolutely not. Reinforcing, getting better is definitely a great thing for this team. I'm just nervous that if we take that route instead of like the Soto, if it's on the Soto deal, if it's on the table, or another option that may be a little bit more, consistent, I'm going to be a little bit nervous about it. I'm going to say this could bite us. But again, never going to be upset about improving this team and spending money to do so. So if we do end up with Cody Bellinger, I hope to God it works out. I'm just nervous about it. Nonetheless, happy to hear thoughts and perspectives down below in the YouTube comments section. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.